Hello friends, Coach Bob with you today, and today we are starting part 2 of a 4-part series on the CanAm lineup. Last week, for those who weren't here, I'll drop a tag up here somewhere where I show you what we talked about last week, which was the RT series of the CanAm Spyders. This week we're going to be talking about the F3s. Next week, we're going to be talking about the Rikers, and then following that, we're going to be doing a little comparison between the three and maybe some other trikes that are out there on the market. I don't consider the CanAm a trike. I consider it a three-wheeled motorcycle, but that's a debate for a different time. But let's talk about the F3. It can be a little confusing to people. In fact, I will say that the F3s, if any line draws a lot of confusion, this seems to be the one that does it because it is a great variance in there. Now, the F3 is kind of known as the little hot rod, the sport model, if you will, until the Riker came along. And then the Riker came along, and it's more of a city hot rod, bar-to-bar bike like they used to have on the old Harleys. You'd have the hardtail and a little peanut gas tank that would get you maybe 40 miles, and they would call it a B2B bike, a bar-to-bar bike. That's what it was for. It wasn't really for getting out on the road. And so the Riker, to me, kind of feels like that B2B, although I know it's not that. And the F3 is kind of between that RT, the Roadster Tour, and the Riker. But I would say that if I was going to lean it in one direction more than the other, I would obviously lean it in the RT. You're going to understand why. Part of it is more touring related. All right, well, before we get going, if you would, make sure you give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, all that stuff. Now let's go. So last week, what we did, and we're going to do the same thing this week, we're going to talk about commonalities first, the things they have in common, and then we're going to talk about the lineup, and we're going to break that lineup into 2 sections, and then we're going to go into detail with each model within those 2 sections. So get your cup of coffee, get your brain turned on, and let's talk about this. So commonalities, and just like with the RT series, there is a lot to be said that things have things in common here. So the F3, the first off the bat, they have the Rotax 1330 3-cylinder engine with 115 horsepower at 7,250 RPMs and 96 pound-feet of torque at 5,000 RPMs. They all have the 6-speed semi-automatic transmission. What that means for those who don't speak CanAm vernacular, that means there is no clutch on the motorcycle. It simply is a press button. So you pull the throttle back, you don't come off the throttle to shift. You pull the throttle back, you click, 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 click. When you come off the throttle, it downshifts on its own. You can manually downshift, but it will downshift on its own. That's why it's called a semi-automatic. They all have a double A-arm with anti-roll bar suspension. They all have Sachs big bore shocks. Rear suspension is a swing arm. They all have a foot pedal. They don't have a hand brake like on a conventional motorcycle. They have a foot pedal that actuates all 3 wheels. They all have the same Brembo 4-piston caliper on the front for brakes, and then they all have the 270 millimeter disc 1-piston on the back. They all have an electronically actuated parking brake. They all have the same tires, the same size. They all have the same rear tire, rear wheel. When I talk about front tires, you notice I said tires, not rim. The front rims will be different. They'll be more model specific. The rider capacity we're not going to talk about because there is going to be a difference on some of these, but for the majority of them, it's going to be a rider capacity of 2, and we'll talk about why that's not 2 for all of them. Maximum vehicle load, 439 pounds. So you can do the math. That's a pair of 220-pound riders, puts you over the limit. Storage capacity, we'll talk about later. Fuel capacity for all of them is the same at 7.1 gallons. And they all use premium fuel. So let's talk a little bit about dimensions, wheelbase, seat height, all that stuff. The dimensions are going to be a little bit different based on what they are equipped with. The wheelbase, though, is going to be the same on all of them, 67.3 inches. Seat height is 26.6. The ground clearance, 4.5 inches, just like the RT Spyders. And the weight is going to be different based on the model. We'll talk about that also. Safety and security, though, is all exactly the same. Stability control, traction control, ABS, power steering. their desk, their digitally encoded security system, and hill hold control. Warranty on all of them, of course, is going to be the same. 2-year BRP, limited warranty with 2-year roadside assist. And then you can get extended service, which is the best BEST, that's B.E.S.T. Terms are available 12 to 36 months with roadside assistance. You can look into that. That costs extra money. That's why we're not going to talk about it. Now, as far as prices, wait till the end, and we'll be talking about prices at the end. Both of the F3s weigh 899 pounds. 899 pounds. That's where they are. Additionally, all of the F3s, the one thing you're going to notice different, you're going to see the engine. The RT, the engine is completely covered by cowlings and plastic and that sort of stuff. In the F3, the engine is exposed. I really do like that look. You're going to see a bar where you're going to be able to move your foot peg or your board based on the model that you get. And I like that flexibility. I was always told when I was looking at the RT as a tall guy, you're not going to like the RT because it's not going to give you the leg extension that you're going to want to get, and the RT is going to feel small to you. That has never been a problem to me, but you're gonna need to ride these things. You can put highway bars on them. There are a lot of companies who make them. CanAm Spyder Accessories makes them, and Lamonster makes them, and Sling Mods has them out there. There's a lot of companies out there that have highway pegs for you, so you can get your legs more extended on the RT. But the F3, that is one of the things, that ergonomic feel of your leg. Then there was the other side of it. The windshield on the F3 is not as tall. Therefore, you may get a little more buffeting on the old noodle when you're riding if you're a taller rider. You can get aftermarket windshields, that sort of stuff. So nothing's perfect. There is no such thing as a perfect motorcycle. But that gives you an idea of a little more of the difference between the F3 versus the RT. Again, we're going to go into greater detail on episode 4 where we look at the differences between the lines. All right, so that was a lot of information. I know your brain is kind of fried. It's okay. Those are things that this machine has in common. All 5 models have that in common. So you're saying, okay, well, they have the same power plant. They have the same transmission. They have the same fuel capacity. And you ride all of them. How different could they be? They can be quite different. But what we're going to do now is we're going to break these 5 models up into 2 categories. We're going to go with a cruiser versus a tourer. All right, the cruiser is going to be the F3, the base, the F3 base, and the F3S Special. The F3 base and the F3S Special have a lot in common, and you're going to see that as I drop these pictures up here. You're going to see how much they do have in common, and it is a lot. Now, if you were to look at the spec sheet for the F3 base, you would see that it says the package highlights. You're going to love this. Open air freedom. Woo! I don't see that as a big package highlight. I see that as every motorcycle ever created, including the ones without motors, which we call bicycles. Relaxed cruiser ergonomics with UFit. That's the little bar where you can slide your peg back and forth. Bold muscular design and a performance ride. Now, the F3 base 2 years ago had a detuned engine, so you lost horsepower when you bought the base. Now, if you buy the base, you get the full powered engine, which should have never been anything other than that. But that's what they did, and BRP is not the only company to do that. If anybody who's a motorcycle guy knows that companies like KTM, they have their performance packages. Everything is on the motorcycle, but you have to have them electronically unlocked, and you have to pay extra money to get those features. So there's a lot of companies out there that are playing the horsepower game based on the model. The big difference, the big thing you're not going to get on the base. You're not going to get any wind protection, and you're not going to get any gauge, like a gauge spoiler, which you get on another model we'll be talking about in a moment. You're not going to get those things on this machine. You're just not. So it is a base model. When you look at it, it looks like a base model. But, there is something to be said about having a blank canvas to make it your own, and that's all fine and good. One thing that I don't like about the base, and I'm just not a real fan of, is the smaller instrument cluster. They have a 4.5-inch digital display. It looks like, you remember the old Casio watches, you know, in the 1970s and 80s? That's what it looks like. It looks like an old Casio watch. Has a speedometer, tachometer, odometer, trip meters, gear position, distance to empty, has all your engine trouble lights, a fuel gauge, a clock, and it will show you when your eco mode is on. Eco mode is a little button you press. All the Spyders have it. It just basically brings the throttle performance down a little bit, so you get a little bit better gas mileage. I don't use it, not a big fan of that, but it's there if you like it. You get 2 halogen lights. You get front fenders with LED lights. You get a black perforated solo seat on the base model. So a solo seat, and then you get a mono seat cowling. That's a cowling that goes over the back, so it doesn't look like there's just an empty spot on the motorcycle. And that is why the rider capacity for the F3 base is 1. You cannot ride 2 people on the F3 base, only 1. So that's what the base model gets you. It only comes in 1 color, and that is steel black metallic. It comes with a basic black wheel. There are no platinum or chrome highlights on it. It is a black motorcycle. It looks good, and there you have it, F3 base. So now let's talk about the F3S Special. Now, the F3S Special, of course, gives you open air freedom. That means you don't have a windshield, by the way. Relaxed ergonomics with UFit, the same thing, same exact thing. It's going to have a peg. It's not going to have a footboard. It's going to have a peg, all right, like a motorcycle. Bold, muscular, sporty design once again, and a spirited performance ride. Comes in 2 colors. Comes in monolith black satin and manta green. All right, the manta green actually is pretty cool. I like the look of it. It is an interesting color, and the manta green on that color comes with an optional wheel. It's more of a machined and a tinted look. I really do like the way that looks. So what does it get you over the base model? Well, it gets you a couple of things. One thing, it does get you a passenger seat not installed. So you're going to have to install the passenger seat if you want to ride a passenger on it. It comes with the single seat, that seat cowl that goes across the back. It has that on it so that, you know, it comes ready to ride. But in order to put that passenger on there, you're going to have to put that other seat on the back and take that seat cowling off of there. The big plus, you start getting some electronic features, which I like. Has the large 7.8-inch display. It's a color display. It has BRP Connect. That allows you to integrate your smartphone apps and all that stuff with it. I'm not a big BRP Connect app fan. Anyone who's been a long-time viewer of this channel understands that. Anyone who has ever used BRP Connect is not a real big fan, but they've improved. They've come a long way with it. On the F3S Special, you don't have speakers. You simply have audio inputs and that sort of stuff. So you're going to have to provide your in-helmet comm system in order to be able to listen to music. You will get a color version again of this screen, and it has a radio on it, and you can sync your phone up and all that stuff with that and communicate with your helmet. They also make speaker systems as aftermarket stuff for all of these things. There again, you can look into that on your own, but it comes with speedometer, tachometer, odometer, trip and hour meters, fuel consumption average, gear position indicator, eco mode again. This also has a sport mode on it, so you have an eco mode and a sport mode. It has a temperature gauge, of course, engine lights, electronic fuel gauge, clocks, and much, much more. But there you have it. Basically, the display is much better. So you have the 2 halogen headlamps again. You have the front fenders with the LED lights again. The black perforated seat. On this one, you get, you ready? Cruise control. You get cruise control on this one. That's a big plus. I'm going to tell you right now, I know a lot of folks are saying, I don't use cruise control on a motorcycle. That's good for you. I'm going to tell you, I will never own another motorcycle that I have to do over 100 miles without cruise control. Call me a lazy old man if you want to. I'm okay with that. I want cruise control on cruising machines where I'm going to do any miles at all. Again, has the mono seat cowl and the passenger seat included but not installed. And it has a gauge spoiler, a little spoiler that goes up over your gauge cluster, makes it look a little better. Again, does not come with a windshield. The storage capacity on both the F3 base and the F3S Special is 6.5 gallons, 24.4 liters. That's because you don't have any saddlebags. You simply have the box in the front. So those are your F3 cruiser motorcycles. Now let's get into the tours. Now there are three F3 tours. There is the F3T. That would be like the RT, kind of the standard touring machine. You have your F3 Limited. That's going to be a step up. Going to have some additional features. It's going to have a lot more touring conveniences for you. And then you're going to have the F3 Limited Special. And that would be kind of the F3 lineup answer to the Sea to Sky. Not as fancy as the Sea to Sky, not as expensive as the Sea to Sky. But the F3 Limited Special is their kind of upgrade of the upgrade. The F3 touring models are all going to be for 2-up riding. There you go. You can't have a touring machine if it's a 1-up rider. You just can't do it, not in the BRP lineup anyway. You don't have to take a person, but you can. All right, so the F3T, what does it get you? Well, it gets you 2 colors available, that's for sure. You can get it in pearl white or petrol metallic. Now, the petrol metallic is the blue. The package highlights on this, it is very, very, it's going to sound the same. Open air freedom, whatever that even means. Relaxed. I just think that's funny. I'm sorry. Anyway, there are probably people, boo, that's not funny, Coach Bob. It's funny to me. All right. Bold, muscular design. Relaxed cruiser ergonomics and added cruiser comfort and conveniences. There you go. There's a little package breakdown. But again, it comes in 2 colors. This behemoth is not as heavy as the RT behemoths. This machine weighs 948 pounds, so we are starting to get into that area where we're approaching 1,000 pounds. 1,000 pounds is a lot of weight, but understand on 3 wheels, you're not dropping it and picking it up, so it's not as relevant. It does impact your speed off the line as you add more weight, obviously. So if you have an F3S Special and a 110-pound rider versus an F3 Limited with 2 riders on it and a machine that's significantly heavier to begin with, loaded with gear, it's not going to feel as fast, but it does have the same horsepower. If that makes you feel any better. So the F3T, the first thing you're going to notice right off the bat when you look at the picture is it does not have a back saddlebag. The big box that sits behind your passenger. The same thing that the RT base did not have. So this does not have that. So don't expect to get an F3, even a touring machine, and it have that, because it's not. It's going to have that same 7.8-inch display that we discussed on the F3S Special. All of the models from here on out will have the same display on them. That display will look the same. It will sound the same. It will be exactly the same. As far as sound system, now you're getting into machines that have speakers on them. The F3T, the base model, has 4 speakers. Has 4 speakers, not 6 like the other 2 models. But it's starting to look more like a touring machine. The F3T, like its little brother and sister, the F3 base and the F3S Special, it does not have running boards. It still has foot pegs, so you're going to be dealing with that if you don't like foot pegs. I personally like foot pegs, so that's not an issue for me. Things start looking different, though, on this model. Again, you have a dashboard on it now, so it starts to look like a touring machine. The wheels start to look a little bit different, although the tires are the same size. You still have the U-fit, where you can slide your pegs backward and forward, and BRP Connect. Now you have BRP audio, the speakers, and again, you have the eco mode. You no longer have a sport mode. Also, this machine, as with the rest of them, are going to be calibrated to tow a trailer. If you have a BRP Freedom trailer, they are calibrated to tow the BRP Freedom trailer. Can you tow another trailer? Well, there's talk where BRP says it will void your warranty and that sort of stuff. I would suggest that if you're going to tow an aftermarket trailer that is not a BRP trailer, for you to check with your dealer or call BRP on the phone. I use a Freedom trailer. I like my Freedom trailer. Therefore, it was one thing. It was one part of the equation I just kind of said, I'm not gonna deal with it. It's one less thing I have to worry about. So here's what you get on this thing. You get 2 halogen headlamps again. You get the front fenders with the integrated LEDs, perforated seat, cruise control, sport windshield, and you're also, again, calibrated for towing a trailer. You have a glove box with a USB port and integrated hard side luggage. So you get side luggage. You get an audio control keypad. Let's talk about towing capacity and that sort of stuff. Or let's talk about vehicle load capacity. Your maximum vehicle load, again, 439 pounds. That is including your luggage. So understand that storage capacity is now 21 gallons, which is 78 liters. All right, so now you've seen the Cruiser F3s and we've entered into the touring line. Let's step up to the F3 Limited. Now, the F3 Limited is more what I would consider a touring model, a real touring model. It's going to have 6 audio speakers, so it has their BRP, what they call the BRP Premium sound. Of course, has your BRP Connect app, your UFit. Now, you don't have a peg, you have a running board that moves up and down this rail. It's very, very convenient riding motorcycle. They call it the ultimate comfort for 2. But remember, on all models, you get open air freedom. So, I just want to say that. So colors, let's talk about colors on the F3 Limited, because you do have a greater variety of colors. You have monolith black satin, which is considered the dark model, right? In other words, it's not going to have what they call platinum or platine, that they call it. It used to be chrome, now it's platinum, all right? Petrol metallic, also going to be dark. Okay, those are going to be at the standard rate of a price. Now, the next 2 colors that I list come with the platine or the platinum. Both of those models are going to have a different wheel and they're going to cost more money. $1,500 upcharge for these 2 colors. Steel black metallic and the plasma red platine. $1,500 upcharge for those 2 colors. The weight now is starting to come up. It is 988 pounds. So we're now 12 pounds shy of 1,000. So we are up into RT land when we start talking weight now. The RT base model is around this weight. The RT Limited is a little over 1,000 pounds. But we're entering the real tour, the heavy machine land. We're there now. So there's your 4 colors. All right, so initially when you look at the F3 Limited, the first thing you notice is that big back bag. That will change the length of the machine. It's now 111 inches long, so it's a long rascal. Compared to the F3T, which is 102 inches, and your base F3s, which are 104 inches. Obviously, the touring machines are the one I'm more familiar with. These are because I ride an RT, as everyone knows. But you're getting up into features now. The machine is starting to look a little more prestigious. It's starting to look more and more like a tourer. Again, you're getting running boards now. The things are starting to look a little different. Your gauging and everything is exactly the same. All touring models, again, you have your button keypad on the gas tank area. And then you also, on the touring models, you have hand controls that you can do everything with. Again, they're all the same transmission. Now we are looking like a full touring machine. So you still get the 2 halogen headlamps. You get the front fenders with the LEDs. You now get a limited embossed seat, cruise control, a sport windshield, again, calibrated for a trailer, glove box with USB, hard side luggage. Now you get that top case back luggage with an integrated passenger backrest. Now, as in any fancy schmancy touring machine, you now have heated grips for the driver and the passenger. So now you're moving up into fancy pants land. So now let's talk about the granddaddy. The granddaddy, last week it was the mother of all RTs. Well, this is the granddaddy of the F3s, all right? Let's talk about the granddaddy. Yes, it has open air freedom. Just in case, I know you were going to comment down there. In fact, just in a way of being a smart aleck, if everyone watching this video would simply write open air freedom somewhere in their comment, I would appreciate it. That lets me know you watched it this far. A bold, muscular design again. with premium finishes and ultimate cruiser comfort for 2. All of the instrumentation is identical to the Limited. All of the main functions are the same. All of the audio system is the same. The length of it, the weight of it, that's all exactly the same. So what does it get me, Coach? Why in the world would I pay extra money? Well, because you're going to get a mineral blue satin and a carbon black accoutrements. And you're going to get a nice fancy 12-spoke wheel that I really do like the way the wheel looks. Very, very nice looking wheel. It looks great. The machine looks great. I'm just going to tell you. You're going to get all of the aforementioned lighting that has been on the Limited and all that stuff. You're going to get the Limited embossed seat, cruise control, sport windshield, same trailer stuff, all that. But here are the extra things you're going to get. You're going to get a Super Sport grill. You're going to get a short reach handlebar. In other words, that handlebar is going to be pulled back more to you. And you're going to get a top case rack and a comfort seat. When you start adding those things together with that wheel, is it worth the price difference? Well, when we talk prices, I'll let you make up your own mind on that. Again, with all the F3s, I think it's really cool that you can move your running boards or your pegs forward to aft. I think that's really nice. You know, Andre the Giant for you wrestling fans. Gordon Soley. Anyway, boy, that's a flashback from way back, huh? You get that option, and I think that's really, really nice. All right, so let's talk turkey. The $64,000 question, the elephant in the room. How much does it cost? Well, it ain't cheap, I'm going to tell you that, but it is a little more affordable than the RT. In fact, I would say quite a bit more affordable than the RT. So first, let's talk the 2 cruisers. The 2 cruisers are going to be the less expensive, obviously. I'm going to tell you which one I think the best bang for the buck is, and then you can tell me I'm wrong down in the comments. That's okay, too. But before we start talking prices, give the video a thumbs up, share it with your friends, all that stuff, all the stuff that I always ask you to do. And you do real good with that too, by the way. Thank you for watching. I really do appreciate it. Right now, BRP, CanAm, Bombardier recreational products, they have a $765 surcharge. So that $765 surcharge, you eat. That's yours. It's just tacked on top of MSRP. So these prices do not include tag, tax, title, dock fees, destination fees, assembly fees, all the things that can be tacked on by your dealer. I would say you could add another 10 to 12% on top of this based on where you are. Could be a little less, could be a little more, but there's your ballpark figure. You can add the 10 to 12% on your own. I'm not going to do that for you, but I'll do this for you. So MSRP on the F3 base is $18,499 with a surcharge of $765. So out the door, $19,264 is base price for the F3. Is that great? I think it's okay. I don't think it's terrible, that's for sure. With what you're looking at for motorcycles, adventure bikes right now that have basically those features on them are going to be around that same price. So based on what you're doing and what you're looking at, $19,264 is not too bad. Could you find a better deal? Possibly. F3S Special, $20,999 plus the surcharge, giving you $21,764 as your starting point. Could you get an F3S Special for less than that? Maybe, maybe not. But I will tell you this. I think bang for the buck in the lineup of all of the motorcycles, if you were to just buy one as a platform to build, to just ride, I think that's a good bike to be able to ride. Just to get out on the road and put the hammer down and run and play. That's a good start. I think that's a real good start. So let's talk the touring machines. The F3T is $22,799 with the surcharge of $765, bringing that to $23,564. So you can have a touring machine for less than $24K. So the F3 Limited, as far as a touring machine, I think the price on this is in line with other tours. It's less than the Goldwings. It's less than the BMWs. And if not, it's certainly right in that ballpark. So if you're looking at a touring machine, this is right in that area. I know it's expensive at $25,999, surcharge of $765. for a total of $26,764. So we're still well under $30,000 for a machine that will give you rider creature comforts, great touring capacity, a lot of volume to carry in that thing. It's a good deal. It's a good deal. At $26,764, it's a lot, but it's a pretty good deal. And the F3 Limited Special, that is going to be $28,499 plus the surcharge, with a total of $29,264. Now, $29,264, you are right there in that RT Limited area. So if you're on the line between what do I do, where am I going to go, the F3 Limited Special and the RT Limited, they are very, very close in price. I think that would be the two to really look if you're going to be a touring person, to kind of look at those two, or even the F3 Limited. Those three are going to be the ones, without going up into the higher stratosphere of price when you're looking at the sea to sky. All right, so there's your F3 lineup in all of its glory, its wonder, and its splendor. Did I miss some things? Probably. Did I tell you more than you wanted to know? Quite possibly, and that's okay too. Anything that you see that I missed, please drop it in a comment down below, and know that I will greatly appreciate it. All right, so do me a favor until next time, you go out by the motorcycle of your dreams, eat right, take care of yourself, and remember, if you're not having fun, you are definitely doing it wrong. And I'll see you on the road real soon.